Hey guys, it's Emma, and today I'm going to be jumping into part 1 of my deep dive into Battleground by Jim Butcher. So if you haven't already watched the spoiler-free version, go ahead and check that out if you want to. But this is where I'm going to be diving deep in, and like deep as in spoilery, quote reading, like deep. And if you have not read it, this book has spoilers for a lot of things. Like, you will destroy yourself if you read and get these spoilers. So please do not continue watching if you have not read the book. Okay, I think we got rid of all the non-readers, okay? So, I'm gonna maybe do like the first half of the book, or just a couple big topics that I can think of. And the first thing that I can really think of is the banner that Dresden has being the Winter Knight. This was like the first big thing that I kind of figured out, like, wow, we never knew Dresden could do this. We never knew the Winter Knight could do this. We did not see it with the previous Winter Knight. Well, there wasn't really the reason to see it with the previous Winter Knight, but Harry has never really dove so deep into his winter side. He's never had to, and he didn't even like flinch. It wasn't a problem. He wasn't going crazy like he was with Mauve during cold days. This was actually a good thing, I believe. I didn't feel like Harry was being taken over by winter instincts, except for maybe a few very small times. Maybe when the fear or pain was overwhelming. But the banner, I think that was a really interesting thing that Jim added in. The way to create a following and have such a strong impression on the people that they join you. You can feel their deaths, you can feel their presence. It made him almost more human, which this book could have really changed him for the worst. And there were three things that made him more human. Which was the banner, feeling all their deaths, and then I'll get into the other two in like a second. So the banner was really cool. That was like a decent chunk of the book, like 100-ish pages, how he was counting the people down. I liked that, but it also was like scary to just hear him like, oh, there's 1,168 people left. And then a little while later, 1,150 something, I don't know, whatever. That's how it would work out, and that was a really cool aspect, I think. And just how we also got to see Marcone's banner kind of come in at the end. I guess I'm not really doing this part 1 and part 2 of the book as much, just what comes out of my mouth first is in the first video, what comes out of my mouth second is in the second video. But the Winter Mantle has a lot more to contribute than I thought it would. Okay, second thing that really brought Harry down. I didn't want to talk about this so quickly, but it was Murphy's death, which also like brought him to be inhuman at the same time. So it was very contradictory. I think we need to talk about Murphy's death real quick, about if it was just or not. I think that's going to be one of the main arguments about this book, is like, they killed Murphy in such a stupid way. She was killed by Rawlins with a gun? Like, what? But I actually kind of think this was smart by Jim, because with all of the, like, inhuman threats, with all that Harry and Murphy had been put up against, there's still a threat from the real world. Like, reality can still hit you like a truck and kill you. Even if things that seem unreal can also kill you. It kind of brought this center back around, like, hey, there's still humans. Humans can do damage. Murphy is human. As much as she seems invincible all the time. And Rawlins is human too. as evil as he is. But it was terribly beautiful. And I felt like I was holding my breath the whole time that she was dying. And Harry was just there like, no! Oh, that was heartbreaking. Not even the fact that Murphy died, but the fact that she was like the one. They had been through everything together. Like, she knew about as much about him as anyone did. Well, as he did. Okay, yeah. She knew him better than himself most of the time. And God, she brought a lot of humor, a lot of this like feminist side out. And now we lost that. Harry lost that, and it's a real big loss for the community. It still doesn't feel real to me. I can't really believe it. Like, after I read through that part, I kind of just sat there like, what? She can't be dead. She can't. No. But she won't come back until everyone forgets about her. I don't think we'll see her, but there's a slight possibility there. Like, that little twinkle of hope is still there. At least she is not dead forever. Rest in peace, Karen Murphy. Too soon. Too soon. But as terrible as that scene was, I thought Harry was going to break. I really thought he was going to break. Like, we saw his sanity in those next couple pages, like, but Butters and Sonia were there, and it really cleared up. When I was reading that, I thought he was going to kill Sonia. I thought he was going to kill Waldo, possibly. It was getting real close. I cannot believe Sonia, like, dealt with his ear getting bitten. Like, oh my God. Harry was playing dirty. He wanted to kill Rawlins so bad, and we got to see this purely animalistic side of Harry, which, given it was kind of rightfully so, but also we know that's not his character. His character would not do that unless something pushed him to that, and obviously Murphy's death is pretty reasonable to do that. Thank God Butters has his sword, which I think that's going to come in a lot more now, because it burnt Harry, and the burn, like, was the only thing he could feel, and it brought him back to humanity, and he said it made him feel everyone's fear around him. Like, with the Winter Mantle, everything was muted out. With Mab's psychic stuff she was laying on the field, like, all human emotions were pretty much, woo, gone. And Harry could be the animal that he needed to be to get revenge for Murphy. But Butters, his sword, obviously hurting only those that are wicked or have wicked intentions, hurt Harry, and he had to realize what there was to live for, and that he could not become the monster that everyone thinks he is. This challenge was like one of the most heated moments of the book, and oh my God, I really did not know how it was going to play out. Thankfully, it played out in Harry's favor for now, but I think that's showing us the tests of how close he can get. And obviously, with other possible threats and people that could die, it could become like this again, and he could make the wrong choice. But for now, all hope's in Harry. I want to talk about some quick moments that involve more minor characters that we've seen throughout the books that were beautiful, absolutely beautiful in this book. So, Toot Toot coming and Lucina to save the pizza, and all standing like... So, it's been a couple days. I made this first like 5-6 minutes at 3 in the morning, right after I read the book. So, my phone died and I just decided I was going to go to sleep. It's been a couple days. Now I have a little bit more to reflect on because I let it sink in. So sorry for the disruption and change and everything, but alright, let's get back into Battleground. So, one of the first things that I want to talk about again, like re-talk about, is Ithanu and how that worked out. I think throughout peace talks, well, towards the end, after we knew like that she was the villain, we were all left really confused and really like struck. Like, where did this person come from? Where did this Titan come from? What's happening and why? But finally we find out in peace talks, like at the very end, I swear. But like that part still frustrates me. It's just like so random. And now we think that's probably going to be a more common occurrence because it was because of the outsiders. Yeah, I hate the outsiders. Like, of all the villains I could possibly have in Dresden Files, maybe I can understand some of them, except for that, like, how? So that finally was brought to light. I'm glad that there was that thrown in there, because or else I would have been a little more disappointed with how the story went out, because again, it just felt like a tangent. Now, this tangent is probably going to be happening a lot more now, because Nemesis is a thing, and we forgot about it for like 2 books, and now it is a thing again. So, I mean, it was always there in the background. We all know Mac's gonna have something to do with it, but we have to still wait for that. Why do we keep getting hints and no, like, confirmations about being Starborn and Mac? I just want to know. He's leaving us, like, little breadcrumbs, and it's all that we have to suffice. But, alright. Ithanu, Titan, daughter of another Titan, Baylor, and then the Eye, with all its hate. Like, she just wasn't even that important of a character, if that even makes sense. The villain was not the biggest part, because, like, all she was this big ball of hatred with an eye that can burn people to a crisp, pretty much. So her drive was not personal. Her drive was not, like, applied to anyone except for in a broad sense. And she just wanted to, like, stomp on everything, like a human stomps on ants. Like, you don't stomp on ants because you hate one specific ant. And if some ants got away, or whatever, you wouldn't, like, throw a fit about it. She was just like, okay, here are all these ants right here and now, and I want to stomp on them. So I thought that was just fine, like, it worked enough, and I really hope Harry gets to tap into that power, that potential. We all know this island is sitting here with all the dark magic, and Harry will have to pull it out at some point. I thought it was going to be in this book, but he did not, surprisingly. So, Ithanu, ranking as a villain, honestly, would not be ranked very high in my perspective, just because, like, there was nothing personal about it. And, like, it needs to be personal. There needs to be something more than just the pure hatred that was felt by Harry. And Harry couldn't even, like, apply to any of it. Barely any of the gods, demigods, whatever, could even apply to her, because she was so dang old. Like, it's like right now, if some person from the Stone Age was like, you guys are, like, on my sacred land, what are we gonna do about it? Like, we don't care. We don't even know what that means anymore. So that's the problem. I kind of like how that idea was conveyed, but for villains in Dresden Files, like, nah, I don't really care about Ithanu. There were other villains that came in, like Dracul, and who was the leader of the former? That guy. Whatever his name was. He was stupid. I hated him. He was like... If you've ever watched Emperor's New Groove, there's Kronk, or I think that's his name, he was like that, at least in my opinion. Oh, so that was funny, interesting. We never really got to see like water people before, and it didn't really apply here at all anyways. There was the Kraken at the beginning, but like it was just a bunch of tinier villains building up and building up. The Huntsman, that was pretty cool. I really liked that addition. I've never heard anything about Huntsman before. Some things in Jim's books, like I'm like, oh, I know what that is from other books or mythological research stuff, so Huntsman was a new thing that I thought was interesting, new addition. And yeah, for villains, I rank this book like a 5. Everything else, like the scenes with the villains, pretty dang cool. But like the villains' characters are pretty empty. Like what was the point in the former even rising up? There was a power void, but it could have been anyone. And the former obviously didn't seem the best suited to be because they lost. And they seemed kind of useless. Okay, the war was pretty devastating for both sides. And it was a hard win. But I feel like for people that have had a millennia underwater to be practicing and coming up with some super weapon, they just kind of like died really easily. Thankfully, they died pretty easily, even though Harry had to go through some losses. So I think my final piece that I'm gonna bring up just in this video, I want to talk about the use of the tablet a little bit and maybe get into the use of the knife later. So the tablet was pulled out right off the bat. Like, he came back from the island with Lara, Murphy, and no Thomas, sadly. And he had the knife in the tablet. And then they pretty much went to Max, and he's like, here, this will make a safe space that cannot be thwarted. I still don't even really understand what the tablet is used for. He said something like it can create a barrier, God's will, like last breach of place. It's like an even stronger threshold, I believe, like that actually has God's will into it, which is pretty dang strong, if you had to ask me. But Harry put it to use with Mac, and put its blood on it, which probably activated it. I mean, why else would he do that? And he just left it there for everyone to stay safe. And you know what everyone did? Everyone left. What was the point? It wasn't brought up for the rest of the book. Murphy, like, knew that there was this sacred object guarding this place, and she led all those people out, or whoever wanted to fight. There was probably some people that decided to stay, but I think there were a lot of people that came out and joined Harry's army, and Murphy obviously came out. So what did Mac's safe hold place, what did it even do? Did they gather people there? Because it was not really brought up at all. I don't know if it was destroyed. I doubt it was destroyed. But is the tablet going to remain at Mac's place, and then that's going to be a safe house for books in the future? Because we all know Jim would not do this for nothing. Like, he added this in for it to come up another time. It did not come up in Battleground, which means it's going to have more importance in another book. I just can't believe he whipped out 2 of the artifacts so quickly. And neither one of them had that big of a piece. Like, one of them was at the very beginning and one of them was like right at the end-ish. So it kind of threw me for a loop. I was like, wow, these artifacts. Oh, gotta really like wonder when you're gonna use those. And it'll be a big risk, probably 1 at a time. No, 2 in the same book. So that startled me. It was fine because obviously, like, he didn't lose either one of them. I don't know if the tablet will time out, if it will always be this super safe spot with Mac, if Mac deserves to have onto this, because we don't know what he is. As long as Harry trusts him though, I trust him enough, so. And he's a pretty cool character. But, I want to get into the knife next video, part 2. I will post that in a couple of days, because obviously it took me a little while to make this one. It's been 3 days. I have a lot of stuff to do. It's like college mid-semester right now. But when books come out, you have to read them. So that is what I'm saying. Like always, if you have any comments, questions, I know all of you catch things that I don't, or maybe I misunderstood something. Feel free to clarify, because it's always nice for me to be like, oh, that really is something that I didn't realize. And I really respect that we can all talk about favorite books together. That's why I made this channel. It's why I consistently upload basically only Dresden Files, because not a lot of other books that I have had, not a lot of other series that I follow have come out with a lot of books so far, and I'm busy, but not ever too busy for Jim Butcher. Alright guys, go ahead and comment down below. If you watched to the end of the video, thank you. It helps like get your channel out there. I don't need likes, I don't need views, I don't need any of that. I just need people to talk with about these books. So share your opinion down in the comments. Alright, see ya!